Welcome to Think About It with your host, Jayden Miller.
Good day, and thank you for joining me on Think About It with Jayden Miller. I am your host, Jayden Miller. Hope you all are having a fabulous January 27th Monday. A lot is going on in the world today. Let's answer this first question. Who's going to be in Super Bowl number 59? It is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, that's going to be a great game on February 9th. And halftime, who's going to sing? Well, it's going to be Kendrick Lamar. Everybody knows Kendrick Lamar, right? He actually won a what do you call that? A Nobel Peace Prize, or I think it's for something related to singing or music or something like that. So Kendrick Lamar is set to take the field on Sunday, February 9th. What else is going on? Many of our neighbors and friends are being rounded up by ICE and sent back to Central American countries. Yep, that is happening in the United States of America today. And of course, when I went into the grocery store the other day, the price of eggs was hovering around $7 and $8, and that has not gone down. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, first of all, for those of you that are challenged in terms of your attention span, this is going to be a short podcast. I'm going to make it short, but I want to tell a story. And I'm asking you to really just sit back and think about it, all right? Because this is Think About It with Jayden Miller, but I want you to just think about it. Don't put more into it than what I say. I really want you to just think about it. So, as you know, I'm a historian. I teach, and but I like history because there are lots of life lessons that can be taught to us based upon history. So I'm going to tell a story today. So it's story time, boys and girls. Sit around and listen up. All right, this is the story. The people of Israel, and I'm talking about ancient Israel back in biblical times, the people of Israel demanded from God a king. Now, the story that I'm talking about is biblical, and you can find it in 1 Samuel in and about the 8th chapter. So if you want to go back and kind of check it out, feel free to do so. But the people of Israel demanded from God a king. But in doing so, they were rejecting God as their king. God even warned them that having a king would cost them in many ways. So they were rejecting God because they wanted for themselves a king. They didn't realize that the king would take from them more than they got. But they refused to heed the warning of God. They demanded a king. All right, let me do this. Let me just break it down for you and make it plain, because it's kind of a long story, but I promised I'm going to make it short. So I'm going to make it short for you. At this point in history, Israel, ancient Israel, biblical Israel, was ruled by way of what's called a Critarchy, which is a nation run by judges. So after years of mixed results, and finally with the failure of the prophet Samuel's own two sons, the people of Israel demanded a new form of leadership, like their neighboring nations. They wanted to be ruled by a king. Now, you all have to understand, those of you that are listening, that sometimes God will give us the desires of our heart. Yes, the desires of our heart. And that is not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes we want things that we should not have, like that extra piece of cake or that extra piece of pie, or, drinking all that soda, and in my case, and I'll just be frank, that ex-wife of mine, I desired. See, the desires of our heart, even though I had been warned multiple times not to marry her, I still did. Okay. Learned a valuable lesson from that. Okay. And that lesson is to be patient. But no, we beg and pray. And even when it is not something that we should have, we beg and pray for it. We've got to learn to be patient. So let me go on, and I'm trying to paraphrase this story about King Saul. Okay, and again, this can be found in 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter. So just hang with me here. So Samuel, after being told by the people of Israel that they want a king, Samuel went to God in prayer and asked what to do for the Israelites. So this is what God's response was. He said, "Listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them." See, the people felt that they needed a man as king and not God as king. So, who did the people choose? They chose Saul. Why was Saul chosen? He was tall, and he met a lot of the people's expectations. Some say it was his appearance. Now, I want you all to remember that the devil was beautiful too. Okay, so we ought not always look at appearances, because what might be or might seem angelic could actually be evil in disguise. And sometimes not even in disguise, sometimes just right out in front for you to see. Then Saul was chosen for public acclamation. Okay. He had once led them to victory, over one of their enemies, the Ammonites. Okay. But then he was also chosen because Samuel had promised the people of Israel to appoint a king. And that was simply to fulfill a popular movement for a centralized monarchy. They wanted a king. So what was Saul's role to be as king? Well, he was supposed to unite the tribes of Israel into a nation. He was supposed to establish a standing army to defend Israel from its ops. And it was to represent God and do God's will. All right. So Saul was anointed by the prophet Samuel. Now, like God had instructed, Samuel informs the people of Israel on how things are going to change under this new leadership style. See, you wanted a new leader. You did not want God as your leader. You wanted a king. So God said, okay, I will give you what you want. I will give you the desires of your heart. So now they've got to understand that Saul will take their children and use them for his own means to fulfill economic, political, and even war purposes. He will take the best of everything in the land for those most loyal to him and enslave the people under his rule. Lastly, when the people realize now that they have made a mistake, see, now after some time, you have realized that you have made a mistake. See, now you can't call on God. God will not save you from the collateral consequences of your collective choice. You wanted him, you chose him. Now you got him. Deal with it. See, again, the people chose Saul. They were blinded by their own desires and their greed. God didn't choose Saul. He let the people have who they wanted. So as time went on, Saul quickly went from a promising first king to a tyrant that threw out all of the traditions of his own people for personal gain. He made promises before God and others, but broke them with little remorse. He cast out anyone that questioned or threatened his power. He even hunted the man God chose to replace him, which was David, and his own son Jonathan, who chose to obey God. Yes, Saul's son Jonathan chose God over his own unruly father Saul. See, Saul was not good, but that's who you wanted. Now, aside from all of the other feeble and horrible characteristics of Saul, there was also this one called jealousy. See, See, Saul got real jealous of David. Y'all know the story of David. Y'all know who David is. Y'all have heard that story of David and Goliath. See, Goliath was a giant. He was a giant and a major force in the Philistines' army. See, the Philistines were the ops of the Israelites. Now, the Israelites under King Saul were afraid of Goliath and the Philistines. Goliath was sinister, diabolical, deadly. They were at war with the Philistines, but they were afraid, especially when Goliath came out, because he would come out every day and challenge them. They were scared. Under King Saul, they were scared. See, God has set you aside now, okay? You didn't choose me. You chose Saul. Deal with it. Now, here's that David again. David was just a little shepherd boy. Y'all heard of David. You know, David in the Bible, the 23rd Psalm, he wrote it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That David, Psalm 23. Yeah, you've heard it before. See, with God, David was not afraid of Goliath. See, Saul was, because Saul didn't have God. See, David had God on his side. Saul did not. And so when David hurled those stones and dropped Goliath to the ground, and the Philistines scattered like scared rats, the people cheered for David. David would later go into battle, and the ladies would sing and dance. Saul has killed thousands of men, but David has killed tens of thousands. Now here comes that jealousy in Saul. Saul got very angry. It really upset him. Jealousy. It really angered him to see how the people were responding to David, who had God on his side, but not him. So as David became more popular, he became a member of Saul's household and won many victories against the Philistines. And he and Saul's son, his best friend, Jonathan, David's best friend, Jonathan, they became close friends. And after Saul's jealousy turned against David, Jonathan attempted to bring them together, but he was only briefly successful. Saul tried to enlist his own son. Yes, he tried to get Jonathan to kill David. But Jonathan remained David's friend and warned him of Saul's anger so that David could hide. He was loyal. See, Jonathan, even though he was Saul's son, was a much better man than his father. See, he had loyalty. History now shows that Saul was the king of compromise. Saul was a people pleaser, but God was never pleased with him. Now, David, as you all know, did become the king of Israel and gave God the glory. Yet Saul was always wondering who would give glory to him. Sound familiar? Saul did deliver the Israelites from danger, such as the Ammonites and the Philistines, but he was impetuous and foolish, speaking too quickly on matters without giving them thoughtful considerations. The consequence was chaos and confusion, empty oaths, conflicting directions, and a complete lack of integrity. What's more, the nation under Saul was constantly at war. See, Saul lacked good character and good judgment. He turned his back on God and failed to follow God's direction. He even set up a monument to himself. He blamed others for his own failures. When he was told that God was removing him from his position, Even after Saul begged for a change of mind, he still asked. Yep, Saul still asked. Even though he knows he's getting ready to be removed, he still asked that he be honored in front of the people, caring more for his own honor than God's acceptance. In the end, Saul had no faith in God, and his lies only led to loss. Our response to conflict reveals our character, and Saul will forever be known as a coward. The promising king was now just a man whose promises meant nothing. I want you all that are listening to understand that there is not a single great nation in the history of this earth that has succeeded when the people or its leader has done wrong. Whether it be Babylon or ancient Egypt or ancient Israel or Rome or Great Britain or Nazi Germany or the USSR, all of them fail. See, God will sometimes give us the desires of our heart just to teach us a lesson. So here we are in this great nation of ours, and each day people recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep, this show is called Think About It with Jayden Miller. So I've got a couple of questions for you that I want you to think about. So are we one nation? Are we one nation? So with the rising cost of food and our neighbors and friends, the good people, not the criminals, being rounded up and sent away, are we one nation? Under God? Really? Under God? Did God sanction the stealing of their land and breaking of treaties and the killing of Native Americans and the enslavement of African peoples, the hurt that we still feel today, or the mistreatment of women? Under God? Really? How about that part that says indivisible? Indivisible means not divided, unable to separate, but some of our fellow citizens are being divided and separated, historically and present. And then how about that last part with liberty? See, liberty means freedom and justice for all. One nation under God, indivisible. King Saul would have done a lot better if he had stopped trying to be right and just started trying to do right. So that's my message for those that need to hear it. Maybe you should stop trying to be right and just start trying to do right. Please check out my website at www.jaydenmiller.com, and please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and a bunch of others. Thank y'all for listening. I appreciate it. This is Think About It with Jayden Miller. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Think About It with Jayden Miller. Don't forget to like and subscribe to his YouTube channel and like and follow on your favorite podcast platform.